This is Marie from Underground Crafter, and today's video I'll be sharing how to crochet the basket weave stitch. Thanks so much to King Cole for providing yarn for this video. I use Cotton Soft DK, a 100% cotton yarn. As the name suggests, basket weave stitch mimics the look of a basket weave, and one of the ways that you can make this stitch in crochet is by alternating front post double crochets and back post double crochets. Today I'm going to show you how to do that while also showing you the pattern for this basket weave washcloth. One of the nice things about basket weave is it has great texture and it's really sort of thick, and so it's great for anything that needs to be a little bit durable. People use it a lot in blankets and scarves. It doesn't have the best drape because it's what happens when you do all of these post stitches is it tends to kind of pull together and become a little bit of a denser fabric. So it's harder to use in some other types of projects that might need more drape. I used a 4mm G crochet hook and double knitting, which is also known as light or number 3 weight yarn. My gauge for this was 16 stitches in this pattern equals 4 inches or 10 centimeters. For the washcloth version, I started with a chain of 48, and this is about 12 inches square, just slightly under, about 11 3/4 inches square. For my variation on the basket weave stitch, you're going to start with any multiple of 6 chains plus 6 for the foundation row. So I have here 18 chains. So for the basket weave washcloth, I started with a row of single crochet. So I skipped the very first stitch and then I worked single crochet across the first row. I like to work into these back bumps of the chain. It gives you a little bit of a flatter appearance on the edge. So I skipped the first back bump, and then I'm going to insert my hook into the next back bump, yarn over, and pull up a loop, which leaves me with 2 loops on the hook, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and that is a single crochet. We only needed to skip 1 chain at the start of the row. Now we can just go into each of the next back bumps or each chain. Again, we're going to insert the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert or yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and we're just going to continue that all the way across. Now if you decide that you want to start not with a row of single crochet stitches, or if you decide that you want to work basket weave onto something that you have already started, then instead of using a multiple of 6 plus 6 stitches, you're going to use a multiple of 6 plus 5 stitches. I use the 6 because it's going to leave us, after we skip that 1 chain at the beginning, with a multiple of 6 plus 5 stitches after our first row. So I will catch you at the end of the row. Okay, so at the end of this row you should have 17 single crochets, which we started with 18, we skipped 1, and so we ended up with 17 stitches, and that is, as I said, a multiple of 6 stitches plus 5. Now we're going to go to the next row. So now we're either going to chain 3 and turn, or turn and chain 3. It doesn't matter how you turn at the end of a row, as long as you're consistent. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then turn. And that first chain 3 is going to count as our first double crochet. So that means we don't work into our first stitch, and we're going to start double crocheting in the next stitch. So the double crochet is yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch. That will give you 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 1 loop, and you'll have 3 loops again. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So that is a double crochet, and I'll show you that again. It's yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, and draw up a loop. And now twice we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So now that you've done the double crochet, we're going to continue working those across this row. So we should end up with 17 stitches again. Now, or again, a multiple of 6 plus 5. Remembering that our first chain 3 counts as a stitch. So I'll see you at the end of this row. At the end of our row, again, we have 17 double crochet, including this first chain 3 that counts as our first double crochet. Now, for this particular pattern, I used the single crochet to start with just because I like the look that it provides. This row of double crochets is creating the foundation that we're going to crochet our post stitches into. So that one you really can't skip. Now I'm going to chain 1 and turn, or turn and chain 1. Again, it doesn't matter whether you turn or chain first, as long as you're always consistent throughout that particular project. Now, at the start and end of this row, we're going to use a half double crochet. The reason is because when we do post stitches, we're working around the post of the stitch in the row before, and so our stitch is not going to be in the loops at the top, so it's going to be a little bit lower than its normal height. So even though our post stitches are going to be double crochets, they're starting at a lower point, so they're more similar to the height of a half double crochet, and that's why I'm using half double crochets at the edges. So I'm going to start with a yarn over, inserting our hook into the first stitch. So we have 3 loops on the hook, and then I'm going to yarn over again and drop 1 loop. And then for the half double crochet, you yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. You'll get a chance to see that again at the end of the row. So now we're going to start our pattern repeat. And for this pattern, we're going to work in sets of 3 stitches. So our first 3 stitches are going to be front post double crochets. So most of the time when we crochet, we're crocheting into these loops at the top, but our post is this sort of longer stem of the stitch. So for a front post double crochet, we're going to start it like a double crochet with a yarn over. Then we're going to insert our hook starting at the front, around the back, and towards the front again of the next post from the row before. So starting at the front, going in that space between the stitches, around the back, and coming back to the front. So just like with a standard double crochet, we'll have 3 doodads on our hook now. This you can consider as a loop. Then we're going to yarn over and drop 1 loop. And just like a standard double crochet, now we will yarn over and draw through 2 loops twice. 1, 2. Okay, so I'm going to show you that front post double crochet again. We're going to yarn over. We're going to find the post of our next stitch, which is that sort of stem from the row before. We're going to insert our hook from the front, around the back to the front, and then yarn over and drop a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops twice. So that is our front post double crochet, and we'll do 1 more so that we have a total of 3. Okay, so now that we have our 3 front post double crochets, we're going to work 3 back post double crochets. The idea is really similar, except we're going to start at the back, go around the front, and end up in the back again. So we're going to yarn over, find the stem of our next stitch, and we're going to start from the back side, going to the front and around the back. Now I find that tilting the work towards me makes this a little bit easier. Some people still crochet this way, but I find that my hook tends to get snagged on the stitch when I do that. So then we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops twice. 1, 2. So let's try that back post double crochet again. We're going to yarn over. If we tilt the work forward, it's a little easier to see. We're going to insert our hook around the next post from the back to the front to the back, and then yarn over and pull up 1 loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops twice. And 1 last back post double crochet. Okay, so now we have our multiple of 3. You can see that with the front post double crochets, they're kind of elevated at the front. And for the back post double crochet, what you see most predominantly are the tops of the stitches from the row before. So we're going to repeat this pattern all the way across to the last 4 stitches. So we'll do 3 front post double crochets and 3 back post double crochets, and we'll keep repeating that until we get to our last 4 stitches. So I'm going to meet you at the last 4 stitches. Okay, here we are with our last 4 stitches, and what we're going to do is we're going to create some symmetry with the start of the row. So we're going to do 3 front post double crochets again, and then end with a half double crochet. And again, this isn't required. This is just the way I like to do my basket weave stitch, so it's symmetrical. You don't have to do that, and in fact, some people prefer to end on a different stitch than the one they started with. And again, to end with the half double crochet, you're going to yarn over, you're going to insert your hook in the top of that first 3 chains you did that counted as the first double crochet in the row before. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through 1 loop, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. So now we are going to chain 1 and turn, or turn and chain 1. Again, doesn't matter which as long as you're consistent. We're going to start the next row with the half double crochet also. And then our stitch pattern is going to switch it up. We're going to do, and you can sort of tell from looking at this, we're going to start with 3 back post double crochet, and then 3 front post, 3 back post, 3 front post, and then end with 3 back post and our half double crochet. So it's a little easier actually when you're working into stitches that are already post stitches, because they're kind of pushed in the direction that you'd like. So for these back post double crochets, again, I'm going to tip my project forward a little bit so I can see more clearly. I'm going to put my hook from the back to the front around the back. I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over through 2 loops, and yarn over through 2 loops. So 2 more of those back post double crochets. And then I'm going to go to my front post double crochets. So again, I'm inserting the hook from the front around the back to the front, and then finishing off like a standard double crochet. So I'm going to keep repeating this pattern of 3 back post double crochets and 3 front post double crochets across to the last 4, and I'll see you then. Okay, here we are at our last 4 stitches, and I bet you guessed what we're going to do to make it symmetrical like the front of the row. We're going to end with 3 back post double crochets and a half double crochet. Okay, we're looking good. So now we're going to turn and chain 1, or chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do 1 more row that keeps this pattern going before we switch it. So you can see with the basket weave, you're going to alternate positioning, right, of the front and the back post, but we're going to do 1 more row because this is 3 stitches and 3 rows is our pattern repeat. So we're going to do 1 more row this way. So again, we're going to do half double crochet. So again, we're going to have 3 front post double crochets and then 3 back post double crochets, and we're going to repeat those 6 stitches all the way across the row to the last 4. And then we're going to do 3 front post double crochets and a half double crochet to end it. So I'll see you at the end of this row. Okay, so now we're going to switch that pattern. So we had been working, so we're going to chain 1 and turn, or turn and chain 1. And this time, instead of doing the same stitch that we're seeing, so here we're seeing the back post stitches, we're going to reverse it. So we're going to start with the front post double crochet in the next 3, and then the back post double crochet in the next 3. So let's start with that. So these will be a little bit different than the stitches you worked with before. And I'm going to start with my half double crochet, of course, at the start of the row. Because even though they're already post stitches, they're going to be sort of in the opposite direction of what you're trying to do. So we're going to yarn over. We're going to go from the front around the back to the front. And you can see that this back post stitch, that we're not getting the full post when we do it from the front side. So it'll be almost like working into like a single crochet or something, like a shorter stitch. And that's just because the previous round was in the back post. So we're going to do those 3 front post double crochets. And then for our next 3, we're going to do 3 back post double crochets. So again, from the back around the front to the back, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So we're going to do that again 3 times. Okay, and you can see that we went from having a pattern that was really consistent for 3 rows to now we're sort of doing the opposite, right? And that's giving it that kind of woven look. We're going to continue with 3 front post double crochets into the back post double crochets, and 3 back post double crochets into the front post double crochets all the way across to the last 4 stitches. I'll meet you there. Okay, at our last 4 stitches, we're going to work 3 front post double crochets into these back post double crochets and end with a half double crochet. Now for our next 2 rows, just like we did with the previous 3 rows before this, we want to keep our stitch pattern going in the same direction. And what that means is when we end this row, we're going to turn and we're going to try to continue the pattern that we established in this row for 2 more rows. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn, or turn and chain 1. And now I can see these are back post stitches, so I want to start with those. These are front post stitches, so I'm going to continue with those. And we're going to set down a 3 rows in the same kind of order. Now, even though we're changing the pattern each row, so if you're following the written pattern, our pattern repeat is row 3, row 4, row 3, and then row 3, row 4, row 3 again. What we're actually doing is creating a consistent look. So if you're not reading the pattern, but you're reading the stitches, you want to have 3 rows that the stitches are worked into the same type of stitch, and then flip it on 1 row, and then 2 more rows where it's worked into the same type of stitch. So again, for here, we're going to do our half double crochet at the start. And then for these, we're going to do 3 back post double crochets. And then 3 front post double crochets. And then we're going to continue that sequence all the way across. So 3 back post double crochets, 3 front post double crochets across to the last 4 stitches. I'll meet you there. Now we're at our last 4 stitches. So we're going to back post double crochet in the next 3. So 1, oops, almost lost my loop, 2, and 3. And then we're going to end with a half double crochet. So we have 1 more row to continue this particular sequence. So we're going to turn and chain 1, or chain 1 and turn, as you prefer. And then we're going to start with our half double crochet, of course. And we're continuing in this pattern sequence. So this is going to be a repeat of row 3, or a row that starts with the front post double crochets. So we're going to do front post double crochet in the next 3 stitches, back post double crochet in the next 3 stitches, and we're going to repeat that set of 6 stitches across to the last 4, and then we'll do 3 front post double crochets and end with a half double crochet. So I will meet you at the end of the row. Okay, so now you can see what it looks like when we have our rows alternated. So you're going to continue in this fashion, row 3, row 4, row 3, all the way until it's the size you want. If you're following along with me on the washcloth, you're going to keep doing that until it measures about 11 inches. And then we're going to finish up with a row of single crochet. So we're going to chain 1 and turn, or turn and chain 1, and we're going to work a single crochet into each stitch across. If you've forgotten what that is, it's insert your hook, yarn over, pull up 1 loop, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. We're going to work that stitch all the way across, and I'll meet you at the end of this row, and then I'll show you how we're going to add a border. Okay, to finish off this pattern, we're going to work a border that is going to be done in the round, and that's just going to neaten up our edges and make it look a little bit nicer. And so we're going to start by turning and chaining 1, or chaining 1 and turning, as you prefer. And then we are also going to single crochet across the top of this row. And I like to put a border on basket weave patterns because often the ends are a little bit wonky, and so it's a nice way to straighten it out without having to block it so often. And also I just think a lot of times having just a simple single crochet border really adds to the look. Okay, now that we're at the end of the row, we're gonna turn, but not flipping it like we do in rows. We're gonna turn to work around the next side, as we do when we work in the round. So I'm gonna turn and chain 2, 1, 2, and then I'm gonna be working across this raw edge. Now, if you're following the written pattern for the Basketweave washcloth, where you started with 48 chains, you are going to have 47 stitches in your top row. For this pattern, when I just did 18 chains, I only have 17 stitches in my top row. And what you're trying to do is get the same number of stitches across this other side. So how do we make that work? Well, the easiest way to do it is to fold the piece in half, okay? And make roughly half of the stitches on each side. So we know that if we had 17 stitches across this top and we want to have 17 across the other side, we need about 8-ish stitches on each half, right? So in this area, I want to work 8 single crochets. Now, if you've never worked into the side of a row, what you're going to do is you're going to insert your hook usually into the under the last stitch, kind of in the post, similar to what you've been doing with post stitches. And then you're going to yarn over and draw up a loop, and yarn over and draw through 2 loops. So you're working a standard single crochet, but it's a little bit different because you're not going into the loops and you're not exactly going into the posts. You're just sort of working into the side of the stitches. And that's going to make a cleaner edge. So you see this looks like a nice single crochet edge, whereas this that we had before is sort of like knotty and knobbly, right? So what did I say? We're doing 8. So I have 4, so 5, 6, 7, 8. And like I said, for the size of your pattern, what you're basically trying to do is have the same number of stitches on each side when you're finished. So I have 8 there. I'm going to put an extra 1, 9. And now I'm going to work 8 across this end, and that'll give me 17 altogether on this side. And then we're going to turn again. And again, this is a turn in the round, so we're just working across a different edge. We're not flipping the project like a book that we do when we work crochet in rows. And we're going to chain 2 to give us a little space on that corner. And now we're going to single crochet in the underside of our foundation row. So we're going to have the same number of stitches at the end. In the pattern, it would be 47. In this little swatch, it's going to be 17. So this can be tough depending on how tightly or loosely that you chain, but don't worry about it. You can make it work. If you get really stressed out, some of us have really tight chains, so you might want to use a crochet hook a size smaller, just to get your hook in there. Or if you have really, really loose chains, you can go up a hook size too, if that will help the edge look a little bit cleaner. So whatever you prefer. Okay, and now that we're at the end of this row, we're going to turn and chain 2 and work across the other raw edge. Just like with the previous raw edge, I'm going to fold it in half and try to get about half of the stitches on each side. This is also a time where you can crochet over your yarn tail from when you started. If you'd like to do that, what you're going to do is insert your hook under it, and you're going to work your yarn so that it goes around this yarn tail as you make your single crochet stitches. So you're always going to keep the yarn tail sort of on top where the stitches that you're working into are, and you're going to make sure that your yarn for your stitches is wrapping around it. And that is a nice way to have fewer ends to weave in at the end of the project. So for those of you that don't love weaving in yarn tails, this is a good alternative. Okay. And we're going to work our stitches across. Again, they're going to be the same number of stitches as however many you had on your foundation and final row. And there you have it. We've ended that side, and we can actually just cut off this yarn when we're done, since we've sort of worked over it. I'm going to end with a chain 2, and I'm going to slip stitch to the start of my project, and there you have it, a basket weave washcloth. Now in this video I worked through the project pretty quickly, but I do have videos on the front post double crochet, the back post double crochet, the half double crochet, crocheting around your project, and crocheting over yarn tails. So if you want to watch any of those videos in more depth, I will link them up. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.